Hello, welcome back, depending on if you're new here. It is finally getting nice out, and I am so excited to get some good urban sketching sessions in outside. So I figured it was time to go through my urban sketching kit. Last spring, I made a video about my kit, which I will link below. However, I would definitely say that my kit has changed quite a bit over the last several months in ways that I'm really excited about. So I guess let's just get right into it. I do a lot of watercolor painting, so one of the most important things in my kit is, of course, my paints. This is a Meeden watercolor palette. It has 20 pans in it. There's like 2 rows of 7, and then these ones in the middle here, I added them myself. They actually nestle in really nicely. I didn't have to glue them down or anything. It has this extra tray of mixing space, which is really helpful. So the colors in here, I am not making any changes to at the moment. It's fairly similar to my regular studio palette, although there's a couple of paints with like Daniel Smith cerulean. I actually prefer M. Graham cerulean, and that's what I use in my studio palette now. But this is the last remnants I have of Daniel Smith, and I'm determined to finish it. So there's a couple of pans in here like that. But other than that, a lot of them are paints that appear in my studio palette as well, so that I know that I'm comfortable using the paints and knowing how they're gonna mix in a lot of cases. And it folds up really nicely. It's really small. It has this little loop in the back so that you can loop your finger through it, and that way you can, it's like easier to hold it while you're painting. So that's that, of course, very important. Next, of course, are brushes. I carry these 4 with me all the time. The most important out of these, I would say, would be this Princeton Neptune size 8, which is funny because this is a synthetic brush, so it's a little bit snappier. And normally when I'm at home, I use a lot of silver black velvet brushes, which are way softer and definitely not snappy. But I really enjoy this when I'm out and about, especially because I'm often working in sort of like a smaller space, and I don't know, I just, this brush has the ability to fill in the space that I need well enough while also getting to do some smaller details because of its point. So this one is definitely what I reach for the most. And these all, of course, fold up, and they have little holes at the end so that if you put your brush away when it's wet, it's not going to get like moldy and gross. This next one is an Escoda size 4, so this one's smaller, and it definitely has a nice point to it. Next is this Vinci brush, and this one's a little different in that it unscrews and then screws in on this side, so that's how you put the brush together. And I actually don't know what size this is because all of the text on the brush like wore off within probably a couple of months of buying it, which was actually really annoying because this was an expensive brush. I think it's a natural hair brush, but again, I can't confirm because I don't know. So this one is like very soft, but it does come to a nice point. This is a Princeton Aqua Elite size 10. This is definitely the biggest one in this kit. And this one is for those rare occasions when I am working bigger and I need a bigger wash. And these are my 4 brushes. Next, we have this Blackwing Pearl pencil. Blackwing pencils are great. They're definitely on the more expensive side. They have this eraser that you can like refill and it pops in and out. And clearly I've been getting a lot of use out of this one. I think that I bought a pack of pencils in 2022, and I think this is still the first one. So I don't do a ton of sketching, but I do use this pencil regularly. Bear in mind that I'm not like shading with this pencil on the reg, but even so, it's lasted me several years. It still has a ways to go, and it's a great pencil for laying down a sketch underneath your watercolor. So these are on the more expensive side, but I am really happy with them. Next, going along with the pencil are these two. This is just a small sharpener that, on the off chance that I need to sharpen this pencil while I'm out, I have it there, so it fits really nicely in the bag because it's so small. Then we have this eraser, and I think this is a Staedtler eraser, but I'm gonna be honest, I've had this for at least 12 years now, so I have no idea for sure. I broke it in half a while ago, and it's nice to just have a small eraser piece in your travel kit. So I just have these pieces floating around, and I refuse to lose them because I kind of want to finish the eraser. So I put one of them in the kit to take with me. It's a great size, it does what it needs to do. And then I have a backup pencil too. This one is also a Staedtler, and I have this one in case something happens to the Blackwing. Or actually, in case I forget to put the Blackwing in the pencil case, because this one is one of the few parts of this kit that go between studio and travel kit. For the most part, everything is sort of just in the kit, except for the pencil I will take out to use in the studio and one of my pens. So this pencil just stays in the kit all the time as a backup pencil. Next is one of the materials I have definitely been using the most over the last couple of months with my watercolor, and that is this ink pen. It's refillable. So the ink goes in here, you can unscrew it and refill it. This one is like a cheap ink pen that I just happen to love. I can't give a comparison to one of the more expensive, well-known brands because I've never tried them, but I have this one and I love it. I use it with this Noodler's ink in black, and once this is dry, it's not going to reactivate with water, so it's great for me to use if I want to get an ink layer down and then watercolor over it, which is what I've been doing a lot lately on my urban sketching trips. I will do an ink layer while I'm there and then finish the watercolor layer at home. If you have seen my recent urban sketching trip to the Met, that video I'll link below. That is something where I'm doing a layer of this on location and then painting, not with this one actually, with my studio palette at home. So this definitely gets a lot of use. Next is this water brush. You can fill this little canister with water, and then you can go paint without sort of a water cup by pushing on the barrel here, and it puts water out into the brush so that you can paint without having to dip your brush in a cup of water, which can be really useful if you're on the go. I have found that I don't reach for this unless I'm like on an airplane or at the airport and there isn't really room for me to set up a water cup and such. So I don't use this that often, but it comes in really handy when you do need one, if that makes sense. So I like to keep this one in here. I don't keep it full of water unless I'm gonna use it because I don't want it to, like, I don't know, grow mold or anything. So this is also in here, even if it doesn't see a lot of use. Then we have my water cup, which is this cute little bear collapsible cup. This is not expensive. It's great. It folds up really flat. Comes with a lid. The lid has a little carrying thing on it, and you can sort of control how big you want the cup to be, and it's pretty sturdy when it's lying down, so it's not gonna fall over easily. So this is great. I love carrying this around. I used to have, actually let me grab it. I used to use one of these, which can clip onto your book, but then I found that I never used that, and like, I don't know, this just wasn't as convenient to me to use. So this has been great, and I love it, and would definitely recommend a collapsible cup for your water. If you paint with watercolor, sometimes you need a spray bottle. I'll link most of these supplies below if I can. This one I can't because it used to be a paint bottle, like it was like a kid's spray paint sort of concoction. Clearly you can sort of see it used to be blue, so I can't link this actual bottle here, but if you're on the go and you can find a small bottle that's around this size, I never need more than this out. Like this will last me a really long time, and it's a really good size to fit in a little travel carrying case. So I really like having a little spray bottle with me. Next are more pens. I like having these for some other size options, just in case I want a different line width. So the microns, and then I have this pen, which has a bigger nib and a smaller nib. These all do not reactivate with water once they're dry, so you can use them with watercolor as needed. Next we have these pencils and markers. These Tombow brush markers and these colored pencils, plus this like fun multicolor colored pencils, are not ones that I use often, but I like to have them there in case inspiration strikes and I want to try adding, you know, more multimedia aspect to whatever I'm creating. So these ones are sort of the first thing to go if I need to make my kit smaller. But if the space isn't an issue, then I will have a bunch of these in there just because why not? And then I have this little piece of ruler in case I need a straight edge. Next is a newer addition to the kit. It is an eraser that is sort of like a pen shape, and it's good for when you need to erase small spaces. This over here. Then we have this little rag. This is the sleeve to a t-shirt that I cut up into pieces, and I use these as rags to dry my brushes while I'm out and about. So I have a bunch of these. I switch them out as needed. It means I don't have to worry about carrying around paper towel or tissue or anything, and it folds up really nice and small. And since it was like a cheap cotton t-shirt, it's pretty absorbent. Next are these binder clips. I use these at home and out and about, and they're not expensive, but I just really like the way that they look. They look kind of nice, and they do their job, and they also don't leave an indent on the paper when they're clipped in. I've had some in the past that have had sort of a sharper edge, and they leave an indent in the paper, and it drives me crazy. So I don't have that issue with these. Although if you have a sketchbook with one of the softer covers, you might see an indent on the cover, but you don't see an indent on the actual paper, which is the part that I care about more. And next, of course, is paper. So last year when I was going through my kit, I was talking about how I had this Hanamule sketchbook that's 100% cotton paper and cold press that I wanted to try because I wasn't happy with my toned paper that I was using at the time. And I like this sketchbook. It's nice. It handles the ink pen pretty well because it's cold press, but it's on the smoother side for cold press. So it works pretty well with the ink pen, and I've used it a bunch over the last year. So I'm happy with this. And when I want a smaller sketchbook, this is what I bring with me. And this has been sort of the size that I had gone with for the last couple of years when I was going out urban sketching. But over the last couple of months, I have branched out a little bit, and I started using this Illo sketchbook. It's ILLO. It is also 100% cotton paper, and clearly it's a lot bigger than what I was using before, and I don't usually work that big. Usually when I'm in my studio, I'm using something that, my studio, I just mean this desk. Usually I'm using something that's around this size. So this is an Etcher sketchbook that I've worked in a ton. I have a bunch of these spreads or videos. This is the size that I'm usually working with. However, I will say that one thing that sort of changed in my urban sketching process because of the bigger size of this sketchbook is that when I'm using this sketchbook, and for like the sketches that I showed before, I finished these pieces completely on location. So I started the sketch, I did the ink layer, and I did the painting process on location. Whereas with the Illo sketchbook, because it's bigger, I often end up starting a piece and then not finishing it until I get home. So for something like these, so this one I did completely on location, and this is one of the times when it was really useful to have a random pencil in my bag, because it turns out you're not allowed to use pen. That was like a fun surprise. But for this one, I did the ink layer and then went back in later with watercolor after I had gotten home, and same with these next few as well. So I did the ink pen on location, and then I finished the piece itself afterwards. Sometimes I prefer to finish something completely on location, and sometimes I'm okay with having it be sort of split in half. So I kind of have to choose which experience I want to have when I'm leaving that day, because I'm not going to bring both of these. And then the nice part about all of this is that it all fits in this little pencil pouch. I will just drop all of these in here. Oh, the pens. So all of those, I like to put the microns here, and they just sort of live here, and I keep the brushes here for easy reach. Then I usually like to take at least 2 clips with me, because often one of them is not enough. And then it all fits very nicely in here. There has been one more addition to my urban sketching kit that has been kind of a game changer, and it's this walk stool, which is technically, I think it's a camping stool, but it's so useful for urban sketching. It folds up really nicely, and it's super light, and it has like this little carrying case. But basically, you fold it out and extend the legs, and you can just plop your stool down anywhere in front of whatever scene you want to paint, and you're not limited by whatever seating options are there. It's already been pretty useful inside. You know, at the Met, I could like sit myself in front of whatever painting I wanted. Of course, I was trying to be respectful and out of the way and not like an obstacle for other people, but it just opened up a lot more possibilities for good vantage points. This one is definitely more on the expensive side. For me, it was worth it because it's sturdy. I think it's gonna last, and I know that I'll use it. but there's definitely plenty of other camping stools out there of various types and sizes. So if you have found yourself frustrated with trying to find spots to paint while you're out and about, maybe look into getting a camping stool. So that is everything that is in my urban sketching kit at the moment. A couple of new additions, a lot of it has stayed fairly similar to before. It's gotten, honestly, more just, it's just gotten a little bigger. And you know, that's honestly, that's fine. And you don't always have to go out with the smallest kit possible. It's really easy to make this smaller as needed, but I've accepted that it doesn't have to be. Sometimes it's nice to do a little bit of multimedia. So I am really happy with it, and I am excited to see what adventures I get up to this spring. Like I said before, I will link all of these materials below in case you're interested in learning more about them. I hope you found the video helpful, and if you enjoyed it, please leave a like or consider subscribing if you want to see more from me. And let me know what's in your urban sketching kit. I would love to hear it. I am always happy to learn about new supplies and hear what everyone's favorites are and what works with each person's process. So leave your go-tos below, and I will see you in the next one.